Hi, and welcome to this very first recording of a conversation around masculinity and femininity united. I'm Maria Appelqvist. I'm here.
And I'm Frank Labuda.
And this is the first conversation we're having on this topic. And since I and Frank we have never met physically, we have had a few conversations virtually, but we have never learned to know each other. We thought, why don't hold this conversation and the webinar series we're going to start just transparent and invite you to be part of this. It's a really super vulnerable thing, actually, to just put yourself out there. And I think for me, that's part of the feminine, the exploration of the feminine, to have that courage to dive in, even though you don't know what's going to happen or how you can control it.
I think the masculine is more encouraged to jump in the cold water sometimes. But of course, we have both the masculinity and the femininity in us, and so some guys are more feminine and scared about also.
and it's also, a lot of women are having a lot of overdriven masculine energy, and that also create an imbalance and also create complications when it comes to communication with the other sex. And that's things we're going to discuss later on. There's a lot of things we can discuss.
We can make that especially in the following webinars, where we will get more content and more especially things that you need. And we said that before, that we want you to co-create the webinar. And this is very important because we're playing a game together. The whole life is playing a game, and if you get more conscious and enter in more and more and more consciousness, life gets like a big game, and it's not nothing about to be scared about, but it's fun. Because it's fun, you can create. If you start to create yourself, so it's life is surprising you, the universe is surprising you, or let's say God is surprising you. You can have the same name for several things. So it's no... And you start just to play with yourself, to play with the creation, and to play maybe with the other sex, to see. And it's not playing like that dirty games or something like that. It's really to be open and to be a gift for the other. And that's the go on.
Yeah, I think this is my learning so far, and what I've experienced. So, because it actually started with my own coaching clients when I was having women as my coaching clients, and they were leaders in corporations, and I learned that they had communication problems in corporations. And it was a lot of frustration there, and that's how I discovered how they were in their they were coming in a very strong masculine. And then at the same time, I had male clients. And I started to ask them the questions like, do you find communications problems with women in your organizations? And the men were saying, no, you just need to have strategies. And then I was like, wow, this is because men are used to at home handle a woman and have strategies with hers. And then he could handle his female colleagues. But women in some way were used to direct a man at home, and in the same way she wanted to direct her colleagues, and it caused conflict. And that was the starting point for me. Really understand the pulse.
And it's a stretch between being emotional or emotions generally, and strategies.
It is.
The emotional thing is still not working in business.
Yeah.
Although it should. For example, you use the intuition plenty automatically in business also, but they don't want to announce it.
It's true. We get some message here. I need to see it. How can you get a good balance between the masculine and the feminine inside every person and in relationships? I often find that I need to be more masculine than I want in relationships. I also want sometimes to be lead. You want to lead or you want to be led? You want to be led. That someone else plans, not take responsibility and be the driving force, to be the engine all the time. I want to relax, enjoy, and follow the flow more. I so hear you in that.
I think this is a very good theme for the webinars, and I want to propose it to the next.
I think it's a good topic for our first webinar.
Yeah. Okay.
We're doing on Wednesday, because today we're going to learn to know each other in the sense of how it all started. I know nothing about Frank. Can I start the interview with you, Frank, or would you like to?
Yeah, of course.
I know nothing about Frank more than this is how we met. We are in a mastermind together. So it means we have met in the circle of mastermind among other successful entrepreneurs. And so I knew that Frank was working with men. And I don't know how I got the idea, but something after me contacted him. And I think it happened last week. It was just a few days ago. And from that...
2 weeks ago.
Is it 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's 2 weeks. we had a bit of preparing.
Exactly, but this conversation started. So we know nothing. Actually, we know nothing about each other. What I do know is that Frank is representing the age of Aquarius, and he's a change maker. So, how did it start for you, Frank, with your personal development? Is this something you always had in your life, or did it just start?
Well, I was a sculptor for 30 years, and after the sculpting was not working very well because I'm not a well-known artist or something like that, I didn't study. I studied in Barcelona and not in Germany. I'm German originally. Sorry, I didn't say that. And living now in Tenerife in Canary Islands, Spain is the southwest point of Europe. Originally, it's Africa or continent. It's on the continent of Africa, but it belongs to Spain. So I'm here now because the weather is in wintertime the same like your days today in Sweden.
That's the winter time.
Today in Sweden it's more nice than here, but I'm living now uphill about in 1,000 meters, and there are some clouds are coming, and we're in the cloud now, so it's colder. I started in with the things, with the geomantical part, with the earth energies, and had plenty of those things. And later
what's earth energy? Say more about earth energy.
For example, the energy of water, or the energy of you go with the sticks and cleaning houses and those things. But also I combined it with a sculpturing and created places with a special task. That's a meditation place where you can get in deep meditation, because the energy is for that.
Oh, you created a place for that?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh. I like a place you can move, or a physical place you have to go there?
Yeah, physical places.
So
therefore I came to Tenerife because I was invited from a gallerist to go to Tenerife. I didn't know Tenerife before. Even I didn't know something about Canary Islands. I wanted to go to Cabo Verde, which is Portugal. It's more in the south and more African style. But it's okay here. It's more European style still.
And when was that? When did you go to Canary Island or to Tenerife?
7 years ago, I went to Tenerife.
Because you were invited to come there and do the art.
No, that was in 2000.
Yeah.
This is 16 years ago. And therefore I knew Tenerife in wintertime, and it was beautiful, and only 1 or 2 weeks of rain. Sometimes heavy rain, but okay, it's raining 2 hours, but raining cats and dogs, and then the sun comes up again. So
I have this artist, and I actually seen your piece of artwork. Like he worked with stones and woods. It's super beautiful. Okay, so
you can see it on my Facebook page, and later, of course. That was the initial kick-ass for me to go more in the spiritual direction, and was with different teachers. And since 2003, I also offer, for example, family constellations and coaching. So
it was more like the energy work of...
was the starting point. Let's say it's a starting point, and then I got more and more into the spirituality, and of course wanted to combine that also with the business, which is a difficult thing, because the business world is still not so open, although they use it. So you have to go to, let's say, different speech, different words to use than with spiritual people. So you can get the access into. So
what does your spirituality, like, have you always been spiritual from your very child, or when did you start?
Yes, I have started with my mother with such things. And even when I was sculptor before that, before 2000, I always combined I didn't call it spirituality. I made, for example, courses in conversation with the stone. So it's not only a material.
Stones?
With a stone, yeah. If you have the material, if you have the stone there, so if you integrate what wants the stone and what wants you, so you get an expression, because something is in the stone, and not only what you think is inside, it's something original there. It's an inner energy there that wants to be expressed. And if you combine that with your idea, with your energy, so you get a beautiful piece of art, even if you don't know very well carving.
So that's how you start to do art pieces with stones.
Yeah.
And this is for, I told you, Frank, but I'm going to, like, I have always had this dream for years and years and years that I want to sculpture in stones. Like, what would I do when I have more time? I want to sculpture in stones. So that's super.
Come down and make a course with me. Yeah, you need a bit, what is it called, a teaching, because the stone depends on the stone is resisting, of course, and there are some techniques to carve it, so it's easier and you don't get so overwhelmed. So
there is something like, there is a wisdom inside the stone, and it's really like that. This is really like this is highly advanced skill to connect with the stone energetically and unleash what's inside in a stone and create a sculpture from that. I mean,
well, you could connect very easily about it in the meditation or in the contact of the stone, or if on the wood. If there's a piece which is a bit lighter, or in the wood where there has been a branch and it was cutted, so you could use that for an eye, for example, or for a belly button or something like that. So it is used. that what is inside, it's used to get. But we're talking about masculinity and feminine.
It's
not
fascinating
about
to see
stone carving.
Because we have very different, background. I mean,
Yeah, of course.
You're really coming from the feminine. You're coming from the art piece of intuition, and I'm coming from a whole different background. So it's really super interesting. So okay, so then. And then I know that you also read tarot cards.
Yeah, my master, where I learned the coaching and all the guiding thing, he's a master of tarot cards, especially the Crowley cards. And the Crowley cards come with his books, because he wrote the books especially in personal development. Even in Spanish, you get them with a book, or you got them. They run out now, and they don't make another edition. It's a pity, but well, you still get them.
And that's, if you know nothing about tarot cards, that's the original one. Really, it's I just got that myself. I have many tarot cards, but I just got that one, and I'm still very beginner in tarot cards. So okay, so Frank, this is super cool. Have you took yourself from the piece of art into developing more tools, and that you work more methodologies that you're started to use?
Exactly. I made several courses with different people, because we had in the geomantic formation, we had about 9 different people forming us in different areas. For example, with working with the sticks, or with the intuition, or with feng shui, or conversation with the dwarfs and the elves, and so I got on with that to look for different practices, for different teachers, or let's say the first decade in this millennium. So there were different people like Roy Martina, maybe it's known with emotional balance. Then we had the quantum impulse technique. We had NLP. I made NLP here in Tenerife later. And so there, I always say everybody has, every master has a huge amount of stones there, and you go just taking some stones and some time you've got your own amount of stones there. And the nice thing is that if you share that mountain of stones, everybody can take some stones, and it's not getting less. It's getting more. The more you share, your stones are increasing. It's a very physical, what's it called? Photo or imagine or something like that.
Yeah, there's something about your life philosophy too. Like really, the more you give, the more you
exactly.
The more you give, the more you get. So then, what happened next? Like, what's
one time I've created several what's it called, programs or processes, and then one time I noticed, there are so much of courses for girls, for women, but then nearly nothing for men. So I started to create something for men, and specialized. Well, specialized or special. I'm a man, so I can talk with them on the same level. If I would make a course only for women, it would be a bit. Maybe the women would say, "Oh, what do they think I want of us?"
So what is it you're teaching men?
It's also a course which is created by the people which are in there. So on one side, it's of course the conversation also with the women, and then to be themselves.
So something about helping men to understand themselves and be themselves fully.
Exactly, and take off the masks. Because I'm like this when I'm with a woman. I'm like this when I'll be with my chief, and that's no way anymore. We have to think about that. We are going more and more in the Aquarius age. I don't know whether you heard about the Aquarius age.
So you have to say something about that and what it means.
It means that the Earth, the whole solar system makes also a circle like the Earth around the Sun. And this circle is 26,000 years. And in this 26,000 years, the half is dreaming and the half is awaking. So 12,000 years ago, Atlantis was going underwater. So a very, very high culture died in this moment. And we're just on the opposite side of the circle now. That was when the whole humanity fall asleep, and therefore the high cultures couldn't keep up very long, like the Egypts or like Babylon or whatever you want to announce here. Well, the Romans are more a war society, but high societies like the Egypts or they have been 1,000 years there, but not plenty more. And we're coming now on that point where we have to wake up. We have to be conscious about that we are co-creators, that we create our lives ourselves. And this not only in normal life. This is also in business. This is also in all levels of life. You know, and so we have to enter in this new consciousness, which gives us new rules, also new paradigms. For example, in business, the maverick is not working anymore. The lonely wolf is out. We have to work together. We have to make things together. If not, it's not working. So if I create a program myself and don't include others, it's not working. I made this the last 1.5 years, and it ended up with no clients and nothing anymore. And really, I coming out of a hole which is huge, where I had to go up to the woods to live. To find myself again. So
you get into the deep and you found yourself in the woods.
Yeah, of course, because it was cheaper. I couldn't pay my rent anymore. So this is things I don't wish to have others to reach at that point, and therefore we have to join together. We have to network, and therefore Facebook is so popular, you know. And it changes also the approaches to each other, you know, feminine and masculine. We had 100 years ago still that the men were like this and with the cravat and nearly couldn't move the head, but has to move like that, and the whole expression was that stiffness. And of course, for an emotional woman, it is not possible to go there. It is really not possible. So they had to oppress the women to go in that same thing. And in my point of view, the last 40 years, the women have made a huge expand and a huge finding themselves again. And I found that the men didn't make that. The men didn't make that process, that opening process to let's amplify it to a new humanity.
this is really interesting. So you're actually saying that women open up and there's something happening with women and the men haven't followed that. So that means actually the importance of that, and which I've heard, how women awaken the men in this new age of Aquarius to become the new man. Maybe they need
exactly
for that.
Of course they need the women. Of course they need men, because they won't do it for themselves. You know.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's the.
So a man who is alone, he goes in his cave and then.
Might be, yeah.
Yeah. There is something about the connection with the feminine for a man that can bring out him in his.
Of course, if the world gets more emotional, or the emotions get more outside, more seen. So plenty of men are scared. Because if, like you said in the beginning, they have a system. And if the system works perfectly, but if there comes emotion inside, therefore plenty of men get quiet if something emotional happens, you know, or if there's a round of men and a woman comes in, quiet, they can't speak anymore. And so what's happening there? They're not inside themselves.
Yeah.
And they're only, sorry for going on, they're only can work with the system, but they're not flexible. The emotions always are flexible, you know. In my point of view, and my masculine point of view, is flexible. Because, you know, the feminine approach is always to protect the... If you've got a hen and he's to protect the little chicks, so she's looking all around, and is flexible to guide them there, to guide them there, to guide them there, to get them protected. A man is fixed on one point. He's not that. So you have to learn to open up and see the wider view, and not only the point of this is my what's it called in English? Sometimes I don't get the...
Because you speak Spanish the whole days.
Yeah, well, now German. if you are hunting, what is the hunted thing? The hunted animal named?
The victim, or no, the
victim. That's what I catch, and it's like a cat is focused on the mouse.
Yeah.
A man is always focused on the object.
Yeah.
And not opening up.
Yeah.
So we have to learn that.
Yeah, and
to open up.
And here actually Kia had a question, and I think it's related to what you're saying, that women has a very short history of freedom, and I will say that women are yet not free. We are actually in the beginning phase of that, which has now started. I think we are somehow the leading pioneer into showing the way of a new way of being in the masculine and feminine, but also what it means to be like a new kind of man that is in balance with their masculine and feminine. So there's a lot of work we have to do as men and women in order to get there. So I'm sure you have done a lot of work, but I don't know how we are with time. Like,
we should change. That we not only talk about me or man, we have to take the feminine part also.
So yes. So what do you want to know about me?
Well, how is your what's your approach to?
But here we haven't spoke about relationship even, or maybe we take that later, or maybe we have to take that next time, because there must be something about relationships. There must be something that made you interested in the masculine and feminine in a way, and working with men. So like, how is your experience with past relationships? Like, what have you learned?
Well, that's
that could be a conversation.
that explodes the time that we have here.
Let's don't go in there. Maybe that's for the webinar, next webinar.
Yeah, I created. I think three years ago, I created something like Masculine and Femininity. It was named Sun and the Moon. And the funny thing is, I offered it at. I wanted to make it with a woman, of course, and I offered it to several women, even in the last time also, and mostly they have been too occupied with their programs they have or something. It didn't came to work together. And the funny thing was, we wanted to speak about energy, I think. Therefore I approached you, Maria. And she said, oh, we could do something like Masculine and Feminine United. I said, whoa!
Yes.
The first time a woman approached me about the same thing I created 3 years ago. So I was very pleased and of course agreed. So we came together in that thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. So
how do you came to this this program?
So So maybe I say something about my. So should I do like a background? So for those who don't know me, I'm a doctor in sociology, and I've been very in my highly effective masculine high achiever energy. I didn't know about it, and there was a time I actually consciously chose a path in my life that was to devote myself to my own personal development and my own, like going for my next training, finding my next education. And I think when you work with your own personal development, you sooner or later come into the area of sexuality. And that wasn't, how would I say, I went in there because I was curious what was the next edge for coaching. And rather than actually understanding that I had something I could learn there, that what I did was, you have not heard this, Frank, so be prepared for a shock, maybe, I don't know. But what happened was I entered into an organization, One Taste, that was also teaching a practice called orgasmic meditation. So like my logical mind said, at that time, you couldn't Google orgasmic meditation. Nobody knew what it was. Today, all information is available out there. But at that time, it wasn't. I was the first one trained living outside United States. So from the beginning, my rational mind just wanted to take the theory part and having the teacher Nicole Dedon, like being part of her classes. And I was in this program for 1 month, and then they all were going to a retreat in San Francisco. And since I was not doing the orgasmic meditation practice part, I didn't go there. And then they all came back to the teleline. And everything we talked about, they talked about this practice as a frame for everything that happened in their life. And this was the first time I think I realized in my life that I'm trying to understand something from my intellect. I have to go in there and let my body experience this. It's scary. I don't know what it is, but I have to do so. So I switched and took the whole full program. And 2 months later, I was in San Francisco and saw this practice for the first time in front of my eyes happening. And I was like, my body froze. I was about throwing up. I was like, can someone take me out from this room? It was like, wow. And then we were sharing frames after, and people were saying everything from feeling turned on, and I was just having a stomach problem, and I was really bad. At the same time, I knew there is something here for you to learn. You have to stay here. So I just had to dive right into that, and that was a journey in itself. That with time, I learned how the practice made me softer, how it made me more loving to men. I can still remember the first time I heard Nicole Dedon say, "I just love men," and I was thinking like, "Gosh, that's crazy! You can't love one man." but now I understand it. It was like something like it was taking away layer and layer from me into becoming the person I am today. So that's why I'm very devoted to help this practice unfold and get space and stability also in Europe and in Copenhagen, which is near to me. But that was with that. Of course, I started a whole new game in relationships with men also, and I had my coaching clients that were doing this journey with communication problems, and I learned to see that there is something in the feminine that the feminine is yearning for and can't express and don't even see it because it's so suppressed. And at the same time, I see that in the men, there is something they are longing for being seen in their masculine, but somehow women are not in approval of it. And it just creates this mismatch of communication, and when people meet, they are out drinking alcohol or in bars or in even in dating communities, like people don't know how to behave. And it's this lack of communication I see, which is based on you don't really understand that it's a different biology. And I'm a sociologist, so I didn't believe in biology theory. But my physical body today has an experience that I can't deny. So now I know there is a biology difference. There is a difference between men and women and what men and women both want and feel and yearn for. And that was, and that took, of course, my business in a whole new way also to what it is today, to help women find their orgasmic feminine, because I know that finding that I met so many women who are blocked in their business, and in the same way they are blocked in their sex life, they are blocked in relationships, they don't let love in, they are not open in their sexuality. And at the same time, I'm seeing when women open up to loving, nurturing relationships, they also start to make money in a whole new way in their business. So there is something here to further explore, and that's why the masculine and feminine coming together, there is something powerful in that.
I think you could teach the men also this part of
I know
life to be more sexual and to let the energy flow, and it's flowing in business also.
That's what I call my priestess work. So I'm actually, I think I can say it here, but I'm actually trained as what is called a temple whore. I have training in that. So there is something in what it means to go in there and actually. So I'm seeing everything have different expressions, and it's something about that out. Mm.
Mm. Many thanks for sharing that deep experience and those things. So I don't know what to ask you more.
I was like fully satisfied. Maybe we take some questions. What kind of questions do you have? Do you have any questions? We have something coming up there. One was this kind of, Astrid was saying something about the masks we wear, and which is interesting, which I think it is. I mean, that's the whole time we're having masks, we don't really see it. And actually, maybe I can give this example I had. I think it's so unusual that people out there feel the connection to someone. So when they do feel it, they get afraid. And that was because in the same, I think it was around the same days we had our first conversation, Frank. I was having another conversation with a guy who has a network with executives, and we were talking about how I could help or support that network. And we had a really connecting conversation. Then in the final end, he was saying something like, okay, so I want to see your merits and, you know, your education tools you're working with. So can you please send me that? And when I hanged up, I was like, this is so weird. I mean, we connected for 1 hour. Do I have to prove myself? So I basically came to a conclusion that I sent him an email and I said, you know, hey, here's how I feel. Either you trust me or you don't. If you don't trust me, we're not supposed to work with each other. And at the same time, I started these conversations with Frank. And as you know, we're having this, we don't even know each other. But there was immediate trust, like the connection and the trust. And then from that, we start co-create. And here we are. And that's why I wanted to open that floor for you to also be inspired. Because I think this is when you are in balance, like when you have healed your wounds. And I think as a woman, you have to heal your wounds with your mothers, with your ancestors, with your, you know, like the whole history, like the women history of being suppressed. You have to heal that. And for men, I think you need to heal the history of what it means, you know, in relationship to your father and all that. I think it's first when you have done that kind of work and also stepped into extremes in a way. I mean, really explore that. You can
I have also the experience that you that it's not necessary to heal all that if you accept to start to be in your heart. If you're entering your heart, it's scary in the principle. I agree. It's scary because it will destroy your identification. Your identification is mostly coupled or what is it called? Joined together with the emotions of old experiences.
Yeah, and it's like thoughts forms.
Yeah, it's you have experienced it by seeing or by hearing or by experiencing it yourself. So this is the basic subconsciousness, what is creating your world. And
it's coming from the heart.
The mind is only an exclusive to protect you. If the mind is only protecting you, you can't use it for other things. You can't use it in relationships. You can't use it to approach a man or approach a woman. It's not useful because it's still protecting you. It says, oh, this girl is blonde and has brown eyes. Surely she has blonded their hairs. And that's totally mixed up concept. And you put on a mask for not to be seen, really, because, or if you want to approach from my side, also a woman, you put on a mask because she don't have to see your wounds.
Yeah.
But if you enter in your heart, you're vulnerable.
Yeah. I think, you know, I think one of the examples, we don't have the courage to be vulnerable. Like, I think
exactly.
that's like, so we're hiding ourselves. And I think one of the expressions, like just being transparent, like I didn't hear from Frank yesterday on a couple of days, and I felt like isolated, like, oh my God, what's happening? And then I saw that Facebook message, and I didn't hear from him in several hours. And because there was a point where I felt so isolated and vulnerable, and I was thinking like, oh my God, what did I start, and what's coming out from this? Because we all have this past experience somehow of feeling hurt or betrayed or abandoned or whatever it is, and then when we're starting something that gets important to us, we can it triggers, or something happens with us. Actually, Kia had a question. I think that was an interesting question. I think there's a lot of interesting questions here, but it was something related to, is there something in the for men, or what it means to, like, maybe it's unconscious, but like knowing that there have been a patriarch that have suppressed women, is there some kind of unconscious guilt or shame or guilt or something around that men feels or suffer from? What do you say, Frank?
Might be for some. For me, it's not. Because like a German, for example, they accuse us still to have started that Second World War. I was born about nearly 30 years after that war. So I'm not feeling guilty for that, and even not feeling guilty for my grandfather. Having been there, my father was 2 years old when the war started. So I think normally, if you're a bit more conscious, there's no guilty anymore. More.
But do you think? But most people are not conscious. Maybe they don't even think about it. Maybe, I don't know. So this is a really good starting point of the conversation we're having here. Your computer.
Sorry, my computer makes things here.
We can see that. I think it's anyhow a good starting point. What do you think? Do you like it so far? Would you like to join the next webinar? We hope so. We hope to bring what you have in a content in some way, but also bring out more questions. There is so much to discuss and explore about what it means to understand each other in relationships, how we get stuck in relationships, why it doesn't work in relationships, how we can make it work in relationships, how we can sustain in relationships. Whatever, like, all this is just being conscious about what you're choosing. And
I think especially it's also the thing that this that these things are not only for the partnership, not only for the relationship, but it's also entering in the whole things of life, in your business and your approach to life.
It's all. So here's what I learned about business so far, and I actually had a business coach who wrote a book about how to think like a stripper in business. She has a stripper background, and she's actually using everything she learned as a stripper in her business, because what a stripper need to be is a specialist in building relationships and connecting to people, to the man who's there to get money. And she was bringing all that teaching out also in how to focus in your business, because usually you have so many different distractions. So how you handle relationships, like your intimate relationships, your private relationships, is super important for understanding your business. And I know that one of the most diverse, most famous sales coaches, David Nagel, he actually teaches that, and he says that of his clients that comes to him, and now we're talking about clients who make 7-figure business and more, like what makes them stuck in their business is they are in toxic relationships. They don't know how to handle toxic relationships. So
exactly.
And understanding relationships is all about understanding yourself first. That's why I'm saying that all the relationships starts with yourself. You have to start with yourself first. And if you haven't done your work on yourself, you're going to attract in the relationships that mirrors you. And that could be a painful learning experience. And for some, it might be a shorter period of time, but others might be stuck in such kind of relationships for years and years and don't understand it's a toxic relationships. They were not supposed.
The thing is that if you don't learn it in the first relationship and you quit the relation, you will get the same thing in the next one. You know, and therefore, I always say the soul creates these problems in the childhood, that we can discover ourselves, or that we can discover what is really you, or what is really me. Out of these problems we got, and especially like Maria said, it is the partner knows exactly where are your buttons, and she or him is pressing the buttons without doubts, unconsciously, of course, because she or he loves you, so he don't want to hurt you. But he's there to push that buttons. You invited them unconsciously, exactly the right person to push your buttons, and this is a thing of creation. This is the thing where you can increase your consciousness and increase your life. It's not a problem itself. Therefore, I always say a problem always contains a power or potential of you. So if you have that spouse or that girlfriend or boyfriend what presses your buttons, you have to say thank you. I can learn something.
I learned something new.
I can discover something. Instead of accusing him to have done that and you have hurt me and such things. There's nobody who can hurt you. You are hurting yourself.
Here I got a good topic for a webinar also, is how we can create love together. That's a super useful topic. There is so much. We're actually running out of time. And so it's time to wrap up, Frank.
Okay.
And we want you to know that there is in the top chat window, in the top of the chat window, there is a link. It's where you can opt in for the webinars and be the first one to know of the next webinar. So, which is on Wednesday actually. So it's bit.ly/2C big A big C L1A. That's the short link. If you want to, I actually have it as in a different way, but that's long. So that's Maria Appelqvist .leadpages with an S .cu/masculinity. How it's called, the bindestreck. What's the name for that? And then Femininity United. So I think that bit.ly/2C big A big C L1A is the best.
Copy that again. Copy it again in the chat.
It again. Yeah, I copy it again.
Yeah.
And put it in the chat window so you have it there. I put it there, so it's all there for you. There.
I will also prepare a Facebook event. So if you go to my Facebook, what's it called in English? Page or
Facebook page
site, you can look in the events. So you have the link there also.
We will actually put it in the event page for today. We will put it there also, so you can find it.
Yeah.
Other people can find it. Okay, good.
And you find my page in facebook.com/coach.labuddha. LABUDDR.
Good. Okay.
Sorry, I can't write in the chat box from the tablet.
No, you can't. But we will put everything in the event page. Thank you so much for being here today with us today. Thank you so much. I hope to see you in the next webinar. And bye for now. I'm ending the recording.